Well, hey there. Today we're in the studio with Shaylin, and we're talking about overcoming anxiety and depression. You wrote a great post about this on Facebook. In fact, we'll put a link to that below. So just tell us, first of all, what is anxiety like? What is depression like for you?
Anxiety is fear of everything. Just waking up in the morning, getting out of bed, thinking, what am I doing today? What's today going to be like? How am I supposed to feel about it?
Yeah.
And just kind of trying to overcome it every day. Every day you're kind of in your own head, trying to think of ways to just go around things instead of having to go over it. There was a couple of times in school where I wouldn't even look at people or talk to them all day. I had a record going from I didn't talk the whole day until 2 o'clock in the afternoon one day. I tried everything I could not to be seen, to be heard, because I was just scared of what people thought of me. I was scared about what I thought of me, what my parents thought of me. So in that, it affected everything I did.
Do you think the people at school recognized that you were anxious or had depression?
I don't think they did. I think they thought I was rude because I just kind of looked the other way when they would talk to me.
Yeah.
Or I would overanalyze it and then say one word, and I just sounded rude. But it wasn't that I was rude, it was that I was scared of what they were thinking.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so, where do you think this came from in you? This probably started when you were in your early teens, I would guess, or something like that.
Well, since I was young, my dad has always been a talker. Like, we go to a restaurant and we're there for 3 hours and we know that the waitress has 3 kids and is single and lives by herself.
Yeah.
So it's just, he always talked for me. I never felt like I had to talk.
Okay.
So as I got older, I always thought that people would talk for me. That's just the way it was. And when I got into junior high, I realized that's not what it was like, and that I had to speak for myself, and that scared me.
So you weren't sure how to deal with it. You weren't sure what to do with it. And so what did it, before we get to you overcame it, what did it cause you to do maybe in your high school years?
Well, my high school years, I decided to try a different look. I dyed my hair completely different colors. I had rainbow hair. And after I graduated, I decided to take that to the next level, and I pierced my nose. And I decided I was going to be in a band, and I just did a whole bunch of things so that I didn't have to talk to people. I could sing about it instead. But that didn't really help after a while. It started leading me down kind of a darker path. I started kind of going to a little bit of parties after school and stuff, because I started going to Weber, and that really stressed me out too. But I got kind of a crappy job that kind of led me nowhere, and the guy who was owning the place was working with me, and he was just rude to me, and I just took it. I never said anything about it. I never did anything about it. I never told my parents what he was saying to me. So it led me down a downward spiral, and it ended up making me hate myself, which ended up making me depressed.
Even more, so it's kind of like just a cycle. You're going into these coping mechanisms. They're not working, and so you're just getting further and further away from maybe being healthy, functional,
or just whatever God's plan was for me. I wasn't even thinking about that. It was kind of all about me, in a sense. That is what it is all about you when you're in your head like that.
It causes you to be inwardly focused. Yeah, I think that's really insightful. Okay, so then how did you overcome it?
I met my boyfriend, Evan, and his family is very religious. And of course, I started going to Alpine a while ago, but I never really looked into it because I was so into myself at the time. But as I started to get to know him and his family more, I started to look into religion more, and I started to ask more questions and looked for answers.
Yeah.
So I started with just kind of listening to the sermons more, listening to whatever Evan's mom had to say, because she always sends us little passages from the Bible.
Yeah.
So I started reading into those more. And then one night I just decided I'm going to start praying. So I started praying about it more, and I started asking God what he wants me to do, what I should do, and for him to show me. And the more I asked and the more I started studying and the more I actually listened to the sermons, I realized that they were talking to me.
Yeah.
I realized that what was happening was what was happening inside of me.
Yeah.
I started feeling it more. I started loving the church so much that it's kind of like my whole life now.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's just opened up my eyes that anxiety and depression is, honestly, it's selfish.
Yeah.
You're only thinking about what you're worried about that day, not about what everyone else is worried about.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know half of the stuff that was going on with my family because I was so concerned about myself and how I was supposed to feel that day.
I think that's probably one of the biggest problems with it. I mean, obviously, anxiety and depression is horrible to go through. But I think one of the bigger problems is it just sort of takes you out of the game. Mm-hmm. You're not involved in other people's lives because you're just, like you said, so in your own head, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So just let's end with this, Shay. What would you say to someone out there? There are probably a lot of people watching this video who are just totally resonating with what you're mm-hmm. saying. But maybe they're just where you were a few years ago. What would you say to them?
I would tell you to open your heart up and to listen to God. I'm going to get emotional, but it took me a long time to get where I am now. Just look into your heart. It sounds cheesy, but honestly, it was the best thing I ever did. Stop listening to yourself and start listening to others more. And just listen to God, because He has a message for you and He has a plan for you, no matter where you are in life.
Shay, that's awesome. So if you're out there watching this, maybe with a friend or a small group of mentor, maybe even just by yourself, we'll put some questions below. We'll put some more links below on this topic, anxiety and depression. And really, I hope that you're inspired by Shay's story, and you too can overcome anxiety and depression.